Hi, thank you so much for joining. My name is Whitney, and I'm here with Blick Art Materials, presenting a super fun summer project. So today I have wooden discs, and these are actually referred to as ornaments in the product page on our website, wooden disc ornaments, and they even come with some lovely string to thread through the hole on top. For me, wooden discs just scream summertime. I was a camp counselor for years, and before that, a camp kid, right? And we are just in the heart of summer now, and I couldn't help but think of back to those days when we would actually use these wooden discs for name tags. Parks and Recreation would actually cut down invasive species. We would slice them up, not me personally, it's very dangerous, and then make name tags. And it's a great way to start out the week of a camp program. They get to decorate them and paint them and put all their personality into a cute little disc the size of an adult's palm. So with all of that in mind, I am thinking about a fun summer project that can be done at home with these wooden discs. And this is really something that could be done like as a craft project with your family and with kiddos, or it could even be a really fun event to do at a barbecue, or just a fun craft thing to have on the side outside at an outside event. Let's get started. I have lots of materials up here, and I'm going to sort of talk about them as I go through each process, because really with these wooden discs, you can paint anything on them, right? Like thinking about the name tag project, like kids would come up with totally different ideas and things to paint. And I wanted to focus it in a little bit. And I do have a template available for everyone working at home on our bundle page. And you can find that in the description of the video. There is a bit.ly link that you can click there, and it will go right to a materials page that lists everything I'm using here today. So let's get started with, let's do some painting, because I have my paint out and I don't want it to dry out too much on me. And a brush. You're gonna need a few small brushes. I have some different ones here, and a cup or two of water. And here in my palette, I have the Blick matte acrylic paints. And this is a really fun line of craft paints. Now, they come in a whole range of colors. Grab these two probably, yeah, actually all four. And even within each color section, they have different shades or tones. So there's a red violet light and a red violet medium and a red violet dark, light and deep. And it goes through the whole color wheel like that. So a light orange, a dark orange, a medium orange, all of these colors that really, it means you don't have to mix different shades of the same color. They're already all mixed for you, if you want. I'm gonna start with, I have my little hedgehog here. Now, I was mentioning that there is a template on our website, and lots of super cute little woodland animals on that template. And that is my focus for painting today, as I'm thinking about woodland animals. So of course, you could always take this into a different direction. Now I am adding a generous amount of water to the orange light here. I should have gotten a dropper, but I'm really just sort of picking up water with my brush and dipping it in, making sure it's nice and mixed, no clumps. And now that this is watered out like that, it's almost like a watercolor, and the wood is going to absorb that color very readily. Another benefit to adding the water is that I will be able to see my pencil lines underneath the color, even if I really kind of just go right over them. Now, I did start out with my little hedgehog already drawn on the disc. Now, that was just transferred from the template using transfer paper. It's a nice, easy way to go from a printed image onto pretty much any surface. All right, so I've got our little guy painted in now. And you know what I didn't put on my palette was white. I do want a little bit of white here. Now, I've been seeing lots of really cute sort of muted colors, so that's what I'm really going for here. Some nice pastels in this one. And of course, there are a million different ways you could do this, right? Honestly, in some ways, I kind of love them when they're at this stage so much. When it's just like a little splash of color and the graphite lines show through and it's really kind of like rough, and I think it fits well with the wood disc, but we're gonna keep going. And for the purposes of this demo, now what I was doing there when I was talking is I just added a little bit of white to that already thinned out paint. Now I'm just going around and outlining and actually covering up those graphite lines that are sometimes quite charming, but we're gonna... You can see here, it's not really, this isn't a project that involves painting skill in the way one might think of painting skill, right? We're really just kind of following and filling in lines. And keeping a nice, simple color palette like this. Can keep you from getting sort of too distracted and making something perfect, right? Okay, so that's essentially my little hedgehog, but I do want to add in some variation. Like once you have your main idea down on your wood disc, we're going to add some patterning. I imagine our hedgehog would be quite fluffy, right? So he's just going to get some nice graphic lines. And he is ready to go right on there now. So it really is just that simple. All of these happened that way, and you could try any color combination, really, right? We're just painting our template animals. And it's something that kids would definitely have fun with doing. And let's see here. I want to show you where this is all going, because of course this could be hung up as is. It could be hung from a tree in a yard, clear coated first, right? They make great little cute gift tags and ornaments, and but I thought it would be really fun to make them into a garland. And we will go over that, how to string them all together at the end. But that's our goal here, is we're gonna be making a few different garlands. So over here, then I have our fun collage and painted. So let me grab. Now this is using our decorative papers. Back to our little hedgehog, really, right? And we have so many decorative papers on our website, but for the purposes of this project, I wanted to focus on our papers that had printed animals and keeping with that woodland theme, right? So I just have a little piece here, and now I'm going to trim around the edges. And don't get too caught up in, you know, trimming around every line. It's going to get some paint on it in the end, so it can be a little bit loose. All right, a cute little sleepy hedgehog there, and gonna get, let's see what we have room for. I'm gonna try to get a hedgehog and a mushroom on the same page. We'll see if it works. All right, so this is another lovely decorative paper, and this one is actually, I did want to show you some strategies for cutting out printed images, which sounds silly because it's so simple, right? Like, you all know how to use scissors and hopefully cut around a drawn edge, but sometimes when collaging, things overlap and sort of intertwine, and it can get a little bit confusing what is what, right? And you can see this edge here where I've followed along and cut out others, but I start first with a hunt, which seems very appropriate for a mushroom paper. I'm gonna try to use this one and just make some choices. So if I'm wanting this one, and I think I'll probably want to use that one later, I'm just going to cut with a bit more accuracy than I did with the hedgehog. Now I can put that whole piece away and trim this up some. So it looks like I'll have room for, yes. And give it a little trim. And of course, I think this print is so adorable, but there's so many other papers out there as well. We have really cute little polar bear paper. I think we still have a tiger paper, and all kinds of different flowers, and really probably any theme you picked, we've got something. sugar skulls. Okay, there's my, we're just gonna put a spot of glue. New glue stick has that film on top. All right. Make sure to get the edges well. That's usually, I think, when collaging, that's always the part that sometimes gets forgotten, are those edges. We'll do something like that. Let's leave that up. And now each one of these, I think, sort of picking just these two prints and repeating in different ways, it brings a bit of unity to the garland, as well as limiting your palette a bit when you embellish. I almost think of each of these as their own tiny piece that then goes to join a group. All right. Now, and of course that could be where you leave it. Got a cute hedgehog, got a cute little mushroom cap, and you could be done if you want. But I think it would be fun to add your own personal details. So I'm gonna go in here. And again, I am going to thin my paint a bit for this, which means I should bring this back over too. I think I want a purple hedgehog because that's pretty silly. It's summer and it's the time for silly colors and bright, beautiful things, right? Just a bit more water. Now, I'm just going to go right over the top of this print. I'm not, you know, painstakingly trying to go through each and every line. I'm just brushing right over, and the ink underneath, for the most part, is going to resist the paint and show through, as long as it's thin enough. If it is too thick in any areas or too dark, you can always take a paper towel and blot before it dries. There we go. And I'm going to give him a cute little face and some whiskers. And some ear hair. Okay. And on to the mushroom. And I think you get the idea. This is a nice, simple, fun, it's almost like a coloring book in a sense with paint. Because we've already got our images and our lines kind of defined for us here. mushroom color. Let's go with some green. Maybe a dark green. And don't forget to water out your color just a little bit. And I'm really, for this, I am trying to paint in between the lines because I really love that gold print edge and I don't want to lose that shine. But I'm going to go right over the red down here where another part of the print came in. And really you can just look for white areas in the piece to fill in. I'm just taking it nice and slow. Now, obviously, there's really no formula for your color selection, right? As I chose colors, I like to look at the other ones that I've made to see, am I repeating the same design over and over again? Because that won't be much fun to look at in the end. Or am I repeating the same colors over and over in the same way? But really, this is an artist's choice project. There's no hard, true rule, right? Okay. In fact, along with there being no hard, true rule, I'm gonna have some hot pink grass because this is a beautiful magenta color. I just need a little bit because there isn't much room down here. And I find that actually adding in just one element that's painted on the wood slice helps bring the whole thing together, from the collaged elements to the surface they're on. Get a little bit of light pink in there for contrast. Actually, I believe this is the medium orange red. But right over that other mushroom cap that stayed and wouldn't go away. So you can really alter the piece however you want, keeping elements from the collage that serve your purposes best. Okay, so I think this little guy's done now. And these come along so quickly, right? It was so fast. Actually, I do want to put some spots on the top of my mushroom. While I do that, what time are we at? How long? Tessa. Okay, cool. I have my friend Tessa here to keep me from leaning over the camera and to let me know how much time we have. together. Oh, I picked a hot pink that's super close to the red that's here. And hopefully it's showing up on camera. There's not a lot of contrast happening up there. You can see these don't have to be painstakingly precise, even though it is small. I will call out, I do know, since this is first going to air live on our Facebook page, right? And from our group, there are actually, I'm not going to call out names, that's up to you all, but there are, I think, 3 lovely artists who have joined our Facebook group who do miniature painting and have been making the most lovely posts of very intricate, detailed, small, compact sized. This doesn't have to be anything as complicated as that. Okay, so starting to do things without saying anything. To put your garland together, let's hop over here. Find my last piece, which is this one. Now, garlands have a tendency, and if you have a good answer, put it in the comments. I want to know. Storing garlands, keeping them always, you know, when they hang to be front facing, it's a real thing. It is hard to do. You're talking about objects hanging from a string, right? At different intervals, and they're gonna wanna twist and turn and go wherever they go, which never ceases to annoy me, right? And it's actually why, if you watched our way back, our holiday felt garland, I put a piece of armature wire in there to get around that, so I could move it however I wanted and it would stay exactly where it was. But for this, we're just hanging it on string. So it is going to move some and they will twist around some, but you can minimize that. So I did mention that these come with some string for the topper. And they're all cut to exactly the same length, which is super handy for our purposes. And I just folded that in half. I'm going to go through. And you can really go from either direction. I could go from the back to the front, as I did, or you could go from the front to the back here. Just once as you make your first one, decide which direction and keep them all the same. It will be very helpful later in keeping everything tidy. And then we're just looping through. And now I can attach to this piece. And you want to also make sure nothing is twisted and the piece that you are tying off, if it's the left piece, make sure it's the one that really is on the left. Check your strings. I know this sounds silly, but it really does. It goes a long way to helping it sort of stay uniform more or less. Slightly more than a regular, than just tying a few knots here and there and having them be different. So now I can attach these two pieces and I'm just going to make a square knot. So I start right over left and then left over right. That's very tiny, so I don't know if I was even in the right spot to show you that, actually. Were we okay, Tessa? Okay. Thank you. All right, so that is my knot. And the nice thing about a square knot is, and it's kind of hard to see with something this small, a string that thin, but if you take a, and of course I didn't bring up anything bigger to show you, but if you were to make a square knot with a large rope, it lays flat because you're going in one direction and then crossing it in the other. And so it's sort of a flat knot as opposed to when you just tie and loop around. So I'm going to put that over here, which is another option, of course. And I'll show you that in a moment. I have also, okay, so I couldn't talk about wood discs without talking about wood burning. And if you haven't gathered already, and I meant to warn you at the beginning of our video, this is a potpourri of demos, if you will. So you're getting sort of a little bit of a few different things, and just all on the same surface here. But I do have my wood burner, and I just have to make sure my setup is okay and I'm not going to knock into anything down there. You know I have to hide extra supplies under the table, right? Okay, so once again, I've transferred my image using transfer paper. I have my wood burner on. It's been plugged in maybe not 5 minutes, but for a little while now. And I am going to go ahead and start burning. Now, I will say sometimes it's helpful to tape this down, actually. Some people recommend that. I prefer to sort of just leaving it over my wrist in a way, or sort of getting it out of the way. I want to have a good range of motion. And of course, anything with a cord, you're going to kind of feel constrained a little bit. At least I do. I like my free brush hands where I can move wherever I want. But just be aware of where your cord is and make sure you haven't turned it down or turned it off while you're working, right? I'm going to lean a little bit. And obviously, it should go without saying, but I will say, don't touch it. You're going to hurt yourself if you do. It's very, very hot. So maybe I'll start with his nose. I like to get a nice line in here. One thing I will say about wood burning that you cannot experience from the video, watching the video, you will have to do it yourself. But it smells wonderful. It smells so good. It's like a little mini summer campfire. Now don't let your wood disc catch on fire. See, I'm really just kind of pressing, and once there we go. Waiting for it to get a little bit hotter for me. Now I can start drawing a little more readily. And there is a learning curve, of course, to using any kind of tool. But especially, I think, a tool like this, where there are safety concerns involved, right? You don't want to touch it. You don't want to accidentally, you know, how I had my thumb right there, probably not a good idea, because I could accidentally pull into it while drawing. So you just want to be aware of where all your digits are and where that pen is. And just go slow. Honestly, this little guy is probably going to take longer than this little guy took to paint. So let's see. Keep going. And there is a little bit of smoke that comes off, and we are in an office building, so I'm taking it real slow because I don't want any sort of fire systems to be alerted by this. Again, a great outdoor project. Sometimes, how will I explain what just happened there? Sometimes if you are sort of holding in one place and you're quite literally burning a groove in. So sometimes it, you almost get your tool kind of stuck in that rut. And you just have to lift it a little bit. And once you have all of these lines laid in, you can really go through and make them deeper or wider. I just want to get a basic layout here of my little foxy fox here. And almost there. And what I'm using here, this is the small size universal stylus. I'll pull out my whole little kit and caboodle here in a moment to show you the other tools that come with this. So there's my fox. All right. It's just really fun and again, soothing to do once as you get the hang of it and as long as you stay away from your fingers. It's really fun. Let me make sure that went off. Okay, let's find that kit. Put it out of reach, but I can show you the lovely packaging. So what I was using there is the Versa tool, and it includes, oh yes please, my friend Tessa is going to quietly bring it. Thank you. It's great to have friends, right? All right, here is my, so you get this whole little box, which is super handy for storing all of these tools. But it's almost like if you've done calligraphy or dip pen drawing, there are a ton of different pen nibs that you can buy to go with your dip pen. And the same can be said for the wood burner here. This is just the basic assortment that comes with it. And you can see here, this is the larger universal tool. I was using the small one. This is the one that actually came on the pen when purchased. But there are a lot of different little, this one's for making very tiny, thin lines. And there is even, I was mentioning dip pens and calligraphy. This one probably looks familiar. All right, and that is for believe, calligraphy. And of course, you get this great little packet that's going to tell you what all of your nibs are. So my calligraphy nib is my shading point. It's good for making sort of shallower burns. And you can really, it's gonna sound like a pun that's pretty dorky, but the Versatool, very versatile. You can use it for a variety of things. It actually comes with a little bit of solder there as well, and a soldering point, as well as a, I don't know if you can see that in there, as well as a cutting blade, like an X-Acto knife. It's actually still in its little package there, but it's like a little X-Acto knife that attaches, and you can cut through certain plastics and papers with that. So this is a really fun kit to invest in, and by invest I mean it's really affordable little kit. So that was my wood burning. What else? We did some stenciling, and I have some other products to talk about. So let's pull this over. We do also carry the larger birch rounds, and of course, just like the small ones, you could really take this in any thematic direction, right? As far as images and things to use. I stayed with my woodland animals and added some text to that as well. And for this, I'm going to switch up the paint that I'm using to Unicorn Spit, which is a gel stain. So I can get a, how shall I put it? I can get a very thin line that's sort of, or thin coat that feels like it's actually soaking into the wood here in the same way that we painted these. But because it's a gel stain, it has more coverage and it's actually physically thicker. So it works better with a stencil that way. And the Stencil 1 stencils here. Ooh. This one's too bright and shiny. Let's let's get this blue here. And let's just play with this. In Stencil 1, they have a whole set of birds, and then there's a set of 4 with trees, and there are all sorts of different different stencils that you can get from them. I chose to go with the birds, and sorry for the rustling. There we go. I dropped my stencil brush earlier. Okay, so let's see here. I just want to make sure that's clean, because I definitely left some paint on it. I'm not always the best at cleaning my brushes after. Hopefully you all are better and tend to your materials and tools well. And just a little bit of tape. So I'm not going to do this here because it's an aerosol and it would smell bad Like I said, we are in an office building here. What I like to do, what I'm going to do now is just tape this down a little bit so it doesn't move on me. But if you are looking for some good stencil tips, what works amazingly well and will get you super crisp lines, and even the smallest little pieces will stay down as you're stippling your way across the stencil, is to use a little bit of removable spray adhesive and just spray that on the back. Let it sit out for a little while. I like to even further de-tack it a little bit. I'll put it on my jeans and peel it off again. And then slap it down where I want it to go. And you will be able to remove it when you want to, but it will stay down and like very tightly against that surface because it's a spray adhesive. That's what it's meant to do. But here we're going to use tape. And my teeniest, tiniest stipple brush. You do not need a stipple brush this small. You can certainly go larger. And I always like to think about going away from the cut edge. I just lost a little bristle there. And that will help ensure a crisp edge as well. And this little hummingbird has quite a bit of open space. Okay. And really my only trick with stencils is removable spray adhesive. So we're just gonna finish this up. Sorry, I don't have any more tidbits for you there. Stencils, the whole point of a stencil is it's gonna do the work for you. That's why we love them. And notice, because I didn't use spray adhesive, I am holding it down a little bit. Even with the tape as I move around. Again, working away from the edge towards the inside. Okay, that's it. Stencils are super easy and super fun, and you get an image that you can repeat or you can share with friends, or if you're doing it in a group, you can keep reusing this piece. You just want to be sure to clean the paint off and yes, and be careful with all the smaller parts when you're cleaning that paint off. You don't want to damage the stencil itself. We're just going to pull this off. And you'll see something really fun about the unicorn spit paint is that one, it is scented with jasmine, and two, it is well, it's a gel stain. It's super concentrated, and yeah, really there's so many surfaces you could use with it. Wood, glass, fabric, stone, ceramic, but it dries to a more chalky finish also than something like the matte acrylics, which are meant to dry with matte, but not necessarily chalky, right? There is a difference there to keep in mind. All right, so that is my stenciled hummingbird, and what else? We have just a few products to call out because they're pretty fun. The natural place card holders, which I've got a few here with wood burning and some fun sort of camp-like imagery. But I could totally see having an amazing barbecue where you have all these fun wooden discs to make and play with and crafts to do and amazing little table setting placeholders to go with. But those are really all my variations on this wooden disc project. Few last things to show you. I did bring out, and my focus here was making a garland, right? But with the wood burning, I was doing some yard work the other weekend because, you know, it's gorgeous outside. I hadn't even thought about, I have been using this sad, sad looking keychain. It's sad, Tessa, I know it's sad. For about, it's probably older than me, honestly. This is, my grandfather made a whole set of these wooden discs that, I don't even know if you can see it anymore. He actually did wood burn, garage key, and made one for every single room of the house, or for like every key. These were his key labels, right? And so I've been using this for my garage keys for the past, who knows how long at this point. And just about every time I pick it up, I end up with a terrible splinter. And I've continued using it, but took this opportunity to make a new lovely garage key holder. So of course we're taking it in one direction. There are so many things you could do with this project and so many ways you could bring it to life with your own personality, right? Or to suit your own needs. Yeah. And I do want to just hold this one up. I had to tie it off a little earlier in the video than I wanted to, so I could let my knife heat up, but this is the lovely garland, and it does twist around. If you have any tips on storing your garland so your pieces don't flip, making you need a third hand to twist them back around while hanging them, put that in the comments. I would love to know what that is. And I hope you have so much fun making these and enjoying the outdoors.